Hello everyone, and welcome to Comic Kings, a channel where we discuss all things comic booky, or really just fiction in general. Today, we're going to be discussing another cancelled superhero film, the Batman v Superman film from 2002. The Batman vs Superman script was written in 2002 under the name Asylum to avoid detection and leaks at the time. The movie was going to be extremely dark, much darker than the one we got in 2016. The movie would have taken place as kind of like a sequel to the Christopher Reeve Superman movies and the Batman movies by Tim Burton, respectively. Without further ado, let's get to the story. The movie starts off at a normal morning in Metropolis, where we cut to the Freedom Monument. The Freedom Monument is a massive building at Metropolis Central Park that stands at 700 feet tall with a massive glass dome at the top. Suddenly, a terrorist in an armored truck arrives and begins to open fire on people at the park and on the security guards of the monument. We cut to Clark Kent at the Daily Planet, who hears the gunshots with his super hearing and takes off as Superman. Superman catches the terrorist and says he'll take him to prison. On their way flying to prison, the terrorist flips open his wristwatch and reveals a piece of kryptonite inside of it. Superman recoils in pain from the kryptonite, which causes both him and the terrorist to fall from the sky and into a river under them. When Superman swims back up to the surface, there is no sign of the terrorist. Superman looks around and finds the terrorist's face floating in the water. He was wearing a synthetic mask like discarded skin. Superman hadn't gotten to see his true face. Superman flips over the mask and sees that etched on it are the words, "This is just the beginning." We then cut to Wayne Manor, where Bruce Wayne is getting married to a woman named Elizabeth. Clark had used his super speed to arrive to the wedding on time, and we see that he is Bruce's best man. At the wedding, we also see Barbara Gordon, who is the new police commissioner, as her father, James Gordon, is already dead in this story. After the wedding, Bruce and Clark speak privately over matters. We find out that Clark and Lois are going through a divorce, and we also find out that Bruce hasn't been the Batman in 5 years. We find out that the cause of this was that Dick Grayson, aka the Robin, was murdered, and this had made Batman more brutal as a hero. His quest for justice had stopped being about justice and became more about revenge. Batman retired because he knew that if he'd start killing, he wouldn't be able to stop. Then Clark tells Bruce about the terrorist attack from earlier, and Bruce says that whoever the terrorist is, it's someone smart who will definitely be back for more. We then jump over to Bruce and Elizabeth, who are out in their honeymoon at a beach. They then go to their hotel room. Bruce goes to the bathroom to wash his face and hears Elizabeth laughing in the bedroom. He asks what's so funny, but the laughter just grows louder. Bruce has heard this kind of laugh before. He sprints to the bedroom and finds the woman he loves dead, a Joker-esque smile distorting her face. He finds a bumblebee dart poking into her neck. She was murdered. Bruce then looks up to see red letters written on the wall. This is the beginning of the end. Bruce hurries back to Gotham and into Wayne Manor. When Bruce is about to go into the Batcave, we see that Superman has flown over to check on his friend. He had heard about what happened. Superman tells Bruce that they're being attacked by the same man, the same terrorist, someone who knows their identities and their weaknesses. Bruce says that he's going to find whoever did this and kill him, but Superman is against this. He tells Bruce that he will find this killer, but he will bring him to justice by the book. Enraged, Bruce tells Superman to leave, so he flies away. Bruce then goes to the Gotham Cemetery. He stands alone in the rain, 5 tombstones in front of him. Martha and Thomas Wayne, Elizabeth Miller Wayne, Richard Grayson, and Alfred Pennyworth. Bruce then finally goes over to the Batcave for the first time in 5 years, and we see that there's an Alfred hologram there, since the real Alfred is dead. Bruce then suits up as the Batman, and scans the bumblebee dart on the Bat computer, which shows that it contains the Joker poison, Joker toxin. We then cut to Superman, who flies over to Smallville. He believes that he can use his old spaceship that brought him to Earth as a tracking device to scan traces of the kryptonite. The same kryptonite used by the terrorists against him, in hopes of locating its source and tracking it down and locating it. When he goes into the Kent barn and inside the spaceship, he finds that it's too dark to see inside of the ship. He goes to an electronics store to buy a lantern for him in order to be able to see. And there he bumps into Lana Lang. Lana was Clark's best friend when he was growing up in Smallville, and his first sweetheart. Lana asks if she could meet with him at the Kent house later, so that they can catch up. Clark gladly accepts. We then cut back to Batman, who is patrolling over Gotham City. He runs into a group of thugs robbing the bank, all surprised to see that Batman has returned. Batman easily takes them down one by one. He then tells the leader of the thugs to spread the word that Batman has returned. We then cut to an old warehouse. Inside are many toy-like weapons. This is the territory of the Toyman, an old Superman villain. We see that his body is physically damaged from his years of battling superheroes. He's in a wheelchair, and his left arm has been replaced by a mechanical claw. Batman breaks in and interrogates Toyman. He shows him the Bumblebee dart and asks if it was he who created it. The Toyman says he's never seen it before, but this answer doesn't satisfy Batman. He knows that Toyman used to supply the Joker with some of his inventions in the past. Batman asks him who is impersonating the Joker, but Toyman says that nobody is. The Joker himself has returned. Suddenly, a toy airplane breaks into the warehouse. The airplane has Joker's grin painted on it, and it drops several bombs. Batman is able to avoid the explosion, but Toyman is killed. We then cut over to Lana and Clark, who are taking a walk outside the Kent barn. They are talking about and remembering things from the past. How Clark had found out about his powers, and how Lex Luthor hated him and wanted to prove that he was Superman. Lana confesses that the night Clark flew with her for the first time, she thought he was going to ask her to marry him. She had fallen in love with Clark, but she had lost him. Clark assures her that he will always be with her, and the two of them share a kiss. We then cut to Batman, who has arrived at an old graveyard. He stands before a tombstone that says Jack Napier. Jack Napier was the name given to the Joker in the 1989 Batman movie, and the words "the Joker" are spray painted onto the tombstone. Batman digs up the grave and finds that the coffin is empty. Batman then goes over to the Batmobile, where the Alfred hologram shows up and informs him that there is a disturbance at Citizens Plaza. Batman quickly drives over to there, where we see that the bat signal is being unbolted and lifted up by two men. Both of them look like ghouls, and both of them have their lips stitched shut. Batman engages in a fight with them, and we learn that their names are Jeeves 1 and Jeeves 2. As Batman fights them, he realizes that they're stronger and faster than normal humans, and that they can't feel pain. The fighting suddenly halts when a third criminal walks in. The Joker. Batman is stunned. How could this be? The Joker and the Jeeveses hop into an armored truck and take off, taking the bat signal with them. Batman chases behind them in his Batmobile. Then the Joker fires at him with his bazooka. Batman ejects out of the Batmobile, which is destroyed in the explosion. Batman lands on top of the truck and begins to break its windows. Persistent, isn't he? Laughs the Joker. Batman is able to blast a hole through the truck with one of his batarangs, but before he can jump inside, Joker pulls the brakes, causing Batman to fly off the top of the truck and hit the road. Joker begins to kick Batman violently, but the Jeeveses stop him. Now's not the time to kill Batman. They still need him for an important task. The Joker promises Bruce that he will kill him when the time comes, and then drives away. We jump to Batman in the Batcave. We see that Barbara is there, who is telling Bruce that he's going out of control. She turns on a light in the Batcave, allowing us to see several suits. Two older versions of the Batman suit, the Batgirl suit, the Robin suit, and finally the Nightwing suit. She reminds Bruce that after Dick died, he's been too violent. She then mentions an encounter with the criminal Two-Face, where Batman almost killed him. Barbara tells Bruce to stop himself before somebody else has to, and leaves. We cut back to Clark Kent, who is in the spaceship at the Kent barn, with a lantern this time so he can see. He walks over to the ship's engine, which is filled with kryptonite. With great pain, he removes the kryptonite and puts it in a lead box. In the comics, lead is the only thing that can safely contain kryptonite. He explains to Lana that this old Kryptonian ship is powered by kryptonite as its fuel source, and the ship is able to scan and analyze the type of fuel it's receiving. Superman then places the synthetic mask of the terrorist in the engine. We as the audience already know now that the terrorist is a Joker. The engine analyzes the kryptonite radiation from the mask and shows that it's the same type of kryptonite that his old foe, Lex Luthor, used against him before. We then cut to a prison in Metropolis. Superman had flown over, and he is here to confront Lex. Superman interrogates Lex. How did the Joker get the same type of kryptonite that Lex had used in one of his schemes to kill Superman? Lex says that long ago he had a project called Achilles' Heel. The plan was to detonate a kryptonite bomb in the Earth's orbit, which would have made the planet lethal to Superman. Lex says that his employer was the US Department of Defense, which had been made just in case Superman were to ever go rogue. Lex tells Superman that eventually humanity will turn against him, and this is when Superman tells Lex that he knows he's somehow trying to pit him and Batman against each other, pulling the strings. We then cut over to Batman, who is still in the Batcave. We see that he has been watching Lex and Superman's conversation by hacking into the prison's cameras. He tells Alfred to find anything he can on the Achilles' Heel project. We cut back to the Joker, who is sending out several toy Zeppelins to fly out into the night. We see that the Zeppelins are all dropping leaflets throughout both Gotham City and Metropolis. The Joker then shows up on every television screen of the two cities. He announces his return as the Clown Prince of Crime. As people are watching this, the leaflets fall. The leaflets all say the same thing. The Batman and Superman will fight to the death in Metropolis. We then cut back to Bruce in the Batcave, who is still watching over this. He knows that a fight may happen. He wants to kill the Joker, and if Clark tries to stop him, then he has no choice but to fight him. Alfred then tells Bruce he has found information on Project Achilles' Heel and its location. Batman travels to the military base where it's being kept and breaks in. He stealthily takes down the guards and explodes the vault where it's being kept. He steals the kryptonite from the project and escapes. We then jump to the Gotham Cemetery, where Bruce Wayne is looking down at Elizabeth's grave, dropping a single white rose. Clark shows up behind Bruce. He tells Bruce that Lex has manipulated them, using the Joker to get them to fight. Bruce knows it's a trap, but the thing about a trap is that there's a bait. In this case, Joker is the bait, and Bruce intends on killing him. Clark says he can't let that happen. He can't look the other way. He can't let his friend become one of the criminals he spent his whole life fighting. Bruce looks at Clark. If he gets in the way, he'll die too. Bruce then leaves. We cut back to Lex Luthor's cell in Metropolis. He's in his cell with a lawyer of his, and he tells him his whole plan. He had taken the Joker's DNA from his grave and used it to create a clone. The Joker murders Batman's wife. Batman vanquishes Superman. The Joker even gets to kill Batman as a reward. The lawyer tells him that he's insane. Lex thanks him and breaks his neck. Two guards see Lex killing the man and burst into the cell. Luthor doses them with a chemical that he had been storing in his genetic material ever since his arrest. The chemical causes the guards to become mind-controlled by Lex, and he is able to break out of prison. We then cut to Metropolis. The streets are empty in the middle of the night. Up in the clouds, we see the bat signal. The Joker has turned it on. Clark sees the signal and turns into an alley, flying out as Superman. Then we see Batman, who flies over to the bat signal's location with the bat plane. He lands at the location, Metropolis Central Park, right next to the Freedom Monument. Invitation accepted. Superman arrives at the scene. He tells Batman to fight the darkness, but Batman shakes his head and says, "Don't you get it? I am the darkness. I am Batman." Batman then reveals that his armor is laced with kryptonite, forged into the metal. They engage in a fight, and as they're fighting, we hear the Joker's laughter from the monument. The fight seems to be very even, both heroes exchanging heavy blows. Batman delivers a punch to Superman's gut, making him cough blood. Superman flies away, where he'll be at a safe distance from the kryptonite's radiation. But Batman is able to grapple onto him and bear hugs him, causing them to break through a building. Angrily, Superman throws Batman around, slamming him into cars, denting his armor. Superman then rips a no parking sign from the ground and slams it into Batman, causing him to fly back and shattering several chunks of his kryptonite armor. When Batman is still down, Superman flies off to space, where he uses the sun's rays to heal him from the kryptonite radiation. As Superman is in space, Batman gets up and extracts a folded device from his cape. He unfurls it, and it transforms into an archer's bow. Then he pulls out a kryptonite arrow. "You brought this on yourself, Clark," he says. Superman comes flying down from space like a missile headed towards Batman. Batman fires the arrow, hitting Superman right under his shoulder, causing him to crash down on the sidewalk, cracking the concrete. Batman then begins to grapple up the monument to face the Joker. When Batman gets to the Joker tells him the truth about Elizabeth. She was created in a lab. He says that him and Lex had designed her to make Bruce fall in love with her. She was always too perfect. Batman doesn't believe him, but Joker tells him to check his wedding ring. Batman takes off his ring and sees a tiny Joker face engraved on its inside. Joker tells Batman that this was all a ruse. She worked for him all along. She never loved Bruce Wayne. Batman falls to his knees, defeated. As the Joker is about to swing his axe down on Batman, Superman shows up. He's weak from kryptonite poisoning and had to climb up the monument with his bare hands. Superman defends Batman from the axe swing, but Jeeves 1 and 2 suddenly walk in and fight Superman. Batman fights the Joker one-on-one as Superman takes on the Jeeveses. Superman is able to defeat the Jeeveses by freezing them with his freeze breath. Then, Batman defeats the Joker and begins strangling him, but he can't bring himself to take his life. He can't be a monster. Suddenly, Lex Luthor appears, wearing a high-tech combat suit. Lex grabs the Joker and tosses him off the monument, and down to his demise. If Joker can't kill heroes, he'll do it himself. Lex reveals that the suit he's wearing was part of the Achilles heel project, designed to kill Superman. With his suit, Lex is able to move faster than a Kryptonian, allowing him to fight both heroes at the same time. Lex throws Batman aside and begins to kick Superman. Then Batman tackles Lex, and the two of them fall off the monument. Superman jumps off after them, and with the kryptonite poisoning fading a little, he's able to catch Batman and fly away. Lex falls down and hits the ground, the impact causing his suit to explode. The heroes land safely, but Lex's body is nowhere to be found. Did he somehow manage to teleport away with his technology? The movie ends with Batman and Superman reunited as friends, the world's greatest heroes. Evil always survives, but that's why they're here, to fight back. Now it's time to rate this movie. I enjoyed reading the script for this, and I appreciated the complexity of the plot, but also thought that the whole cloning thing was slightly weird. I also liked that the movie was supposed to be dark, but then again I thought it was a little too dark. I'd give this movie an A. I don't think it was as good as the Justice League Mortal movie that I did earlier, that I went over earlier, which got an S, but I still thought it was a good story, so I'd give it an A. The next canceled movie I'll be covering will be Star Wars Duel of the Fates, which ultimately got replaced by Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. It's going to be the end of the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.